people dying on planes. I mean, I've heard of snakes on a plane. But
have you?
Yeah, the great. Have you never watched the film?
Oh no, what happened
Snakes
there?
on a plane.
Oh no, I've not seen that one. One to look out
one
for.
Up for you. And then there's snakes on a train as well.
You digress.
Yeah.
You digress. I'm going to have to work hard to keep you in a lane this morning.
Fergus says when you die on a plane, it must be an awful thing.
Yeah.
Awful thing to die.
Yeah.
Anywhere, but particularly
on a
plane.
20-hour flight.
The body is moved to a seat at the back of the plane and it's wrapped in a blanket like a mummy. I know a cabin crew member who had to do just that.
I think they sound lucky because we heard this account, didn't we, of someone dying in the seat next to them and they just stayed there. Yeah. Cheryl says, I can't think of anything worse than a 20-hour flight in an economy class, especially if you're someone who doesn't sleep on flights. Yep, that's me. Longest I've done is 14, and the restlessness was unbearable.
You see the con we get with airlines now, and they build things like business class, and you pay so much more, whatever, for business class. You can't recline your seat. They've now done away. Matter of fact, I think there was an airline this week who's now reintroduced seats that just don't recline at all because nobody
Great, so you can sit upright for 20 hours, so, no thanks.
Because even if you had a reclining seat, you'll have somebody behind you kicking or tutting, when all you want to do is relax and you've paid to relax. Why shouldn't you? Somebody's eating their dinner behind you and they don't want that. And we talk about all of this because Qantas has announced it will begin operating non-stop flights from Sydney to London, and they're going to do this, in 2025?
Yeah, they're going to take about 20 hours, and they will be then officially the world's longest passenger flights. And the route that was launched in 1947 once took 58 hours and 7 stops. Well, former airline pilot and now airline safety expert Terry Tozer joins us this morning. Just the man, then, to tell us whether or not this is really going to be safe for passengers.
I don't see why it shouldn't be safe. As you've already alluded to, I mean, it might be a bit tedious, particularly if you're sitting in a not very comfortable economy seat. I've got no idea what kind of cabin configuration they're going to produce. But, 20 hours is a long time, but there's no real safety issue. Drink a lot of water, basically, and take your shoes off. And that's about all there is to it.
Shoes off, you can't get them back on again.
That is a point, I guess. Wear something flexible.
You say there's no real safety issue. Just last year within my family, someone had a heart attack unexpectedly. The same person then went on to have appendicitis. What if that happens mid-air on a 20-hour flight? And say you're over dodgy airspace like Afghanistan or Ukraine, heaven forbid. It's not like you can just land anywhere these days.
Well, you shouldn't be over dodgy airspace. That's the simple answer. And, the captain will make a decision about whether or not they have to divert and land. Obviously, we all think of Alexei Navalny having that situation. Unfortunately for him, the captain did decide to divert, which saved his life. And I mean, we've all been in situations where you have to take unusual decisions, but that's something that should become, part of the normal procedure, really.
Terry, the fact that this will become normal, what has happened to make this become normal? The craft, the particular type of aircraft that we're using or they're going to use, tell us about that.
Well, the aircraft have become more and more efficient, basically, and the Airbus A350 that Qantas are planning to use is capable of flying very long sectors, without refueling. There are always requirements for fuel reserves, and that will all have been taken into account. Basically, they can fly for longer and burn less fuel per hour, and that's what's made it possible.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. So have you ever done a flight like that yourself, Terry, as the pilot?
No, my long-haul experience was on things much more pedestrian than that. We would probably have a maximum sector time of around 7 or 8 hours. But I've flown as a passenger, as no doubt many others have, on fairly long sectors. And, it can be tedious. It depends, as you were mentioning earlier, it depends how comfortable your cabin is. If you're fortunate enough to be in business class with a flat bed or a first class, it's obviously no big deal at all. But yeah, in economy, it can be quite hard going.
Yeah. And the crews, the strain that this would put on cabin crew and pilots, what way would you work this with pilots? Do you get some sleep during that time? And if so, where?
Well, if they're going to do a flight of that length, they would have to have what they call a heavy crew. So there would need to be more than just the normal 2 pilots. They would need to have in-flight rest facilities like a bunk just behind the flight deck. And, basically they would work it out so that each one of them complies with the rest regulations. It would be something like one crew does the takeoff and climb to cruising altitude, and then there'll probably be a cruise pilot that comes and takes over, and then another crew for landing or something like that.
Terry, great. Thank you very much indeed, my friend. Terry's a former airline pilot. He's now a safety expert, airline safety expert. So it was good to get his views on that.
I'm chuckling because so many of these emails that you guys are sending in are not repeatable.
Unreadable.
But suffice to say, Derek sent one in about his dad who had a dodgy kebab before boarding a long-haul flight, and the rest will let your imagination complete. Lots of horror stories about people dying, people drinking vodka.
That's another thing I want to bring up.
Oh, right.
Loos.
Yeah.
In airports.
I hate toilets.
I could demonstrate to you what it is like for a man to...
Please don't.
You have to limbo dance, basically, because can you imagine there's a curved hull, right? You've got the loo there, your head's there. All the men are nodding in my ear here. They're saying things. So basically you've got to bend backwards, right, to do whatever you have to do. It's all right for you. You can sit down.
Well, have you ever tried to change a baby's nappy in one of those ridiculous things? Because the changing table comes down over the loo and the door was behind you and you've got a wriggly baby. Nightmare. Nightmare.
Well, no, the real nightmare is just children in general. Having them on a plane.
I've heard it all now.
I would ban all children. Absolutely. You should have an adult-only...
Oh, no, that's fine,
flight.
But let's not just ban kids.
No, ban them. Just ban them. Leave them behind in lost property.
No, yeah, as a parent, you would much rather be around other parents who are in the same pain than having these tutty, grumpy people going... as if they never had small children themselves.
Oh, we did, but...
Well, exactly, but we didn't go on flights.
I didn't sit and talk to my... Yes, Timothy, the flight will take 7 hours and... We're flying to Antigua and we'll be flying to the high... Shut up. Gosh.
Amen.
People talk to 2-year-olds.
People love children. You can't hate the kids.
Don't treat them as if they're adults. People say just keep quiet. Suck sweets, give them Calpol, get them going to sleep with all of that. But we take a break as well.
Yeah, I think so. Might be appetite.
This is your pilot speaking. We'll be flying at a height of 36,000 feet, and in 3 minutes' time, we'll be landing at 7 o'clock and bringing you all the latest news headlines. Have a good flight. Back after this.